There's just so much, obviously, in the history of like modern society that overlooks the female experience, and that is, it's mind blowing and fucked. But it's mind blowing to me as a man. Obviously, if you've lived as a woman your whole life, it's not surprising at all.
Are you still excited to release new music?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, this project, AMPERSAND, it's kind of adjacent to Bastille. It's its own thing, but it felt like it fitted under the umbrella of Bastille. So we're calling it Bastille Presents AMPERSAND, but it's very much like a sort of a side quest that I went on over the last few years. I feel incredibly privileged to be in a band, and the fact that we're able to play shows, and that people want to give up their time and their evenings and come and see us play is amazing, and I don't take it lightly. But for me, creative satisfaction definitely comes from writing. I love it so much. It's just really fun for me, and it's kind of what I do to switch off. So I love writing for myself and for Bastille, but also for other people and other projects and film and TV. And I think as I've grown up and grown a bit older, I very much realized that that's the bit that I love.
Yeah.
So with this album, it was a really great opportunity to sort of just, I guess, follow the ideas that were interesting me at the time, and work with other people, and be that other musicians or other artists,
Yeah.
printmakers, historians, academics. Like it's the first time, I guess, in my adult life that I've been able to really enjoy leaning into that creativity.
The personas that you choose to play a role in your new songs, I think they're not like unknown to the world. Take for example Marie Curie or Emily Dickinson or Leonard Cohen or so on. So why did you pick them anyways to appear in the album? What would you say is the connection between them, the personas?
Some of these characters are artists, some of them are creators, some of them are inventors, some of them did amazing things, but I think I wanted to explore the humanity behind that.
Mm.
And that it's really easy with people who are known to sort of turn them into a kind of cartoon version of who they are, but on the album, and very much in the podcast that I've done with Emma, it's about trying to look at the nuance of some of those things, and trying to make these people less a kind of cartoonish parody that that history and culture often makes people.
What I found also very interesting, the song about Eve, that's called Eve in Paradise Lost.
Yeah,
And I understand this is actually about Eve from Adam and Eve, right?
yeah,
Why
yeah.
did,
I think
why
with
did
that,
you
I was,
choose her?
sorry, what were you going to say?
Why did you choose her to be a protagonist in your album?
I was thinking about pairs of people and known famous pairs of people, and obviously Adam and Eve, for many reasons, are are maybe the most famous couple ever.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about their story, and whilst I have no faith and don't believe in the Bible as as a religious text, for me, it's
Yeah.
like it's fascinating as a piece of literature, and the idea that this very small story, like it's quite short, has had such a huge impact on so many people's lives for such a long time. And was thinking about, if you took that story literally, how fucking insane it must have been for Eve to be in love with this person who she was made for and from. And I guess I sort of, yeah, I thought if you took this story literally and domesticized it, um, just how from people in my life who've been pregnant or had babies, the idea that Eve wouldn't have had anyone to talk to about it, wouldn't have had any advice, and would have gone through this huge experience um, entirely alone and for the first time, was
Mhm.
something that I thought was really interesting. And it kind of speaks to misogyny in medicine and in medical research, and disbelieved pain, and all of these things that
Mm.
a lot of much more intelligent people than me talk about a lot, for very good reason. Yeah, I guess I kind of wanted to gesture towards that, and I'm aware that I'm a guy talking about these things. But I do also think that they should be, that shouldn't stop it from being part of the conversation. I think
Mm.
my sister has two little boys, and she is very keen to raise them as feminists. I have complicated feelings about it, but I massively, I'm really proud of the song. And we've been singing it live in these churches the last few days, and it's quite surreal singing it in a church. But also, I think it's really fucked up how how much of the how much of the female experience is excluded from historically from like medical research. The idea that seatbelts are designed for men and that there is they don't take in there's just so much obviously in the history of like modern society that overlooks the female experience, and that is it's mind blowing and fucked. But it's mind blowing to me as a man. Obviously, if you've lived as a woman your whole life, it's not surprising at all.
Mhm. There's another topic I think that's interesting for me as I listen to the album. There's another song about a mythological character, if you will, and that's Narcissus. The song is called Seasons and Narcissus, and it's about the character who fell in love with himself in the mirror. I think we all know that tale. Um, the question that comes to mind is, are there maybe any parallels to your own person?
um, I think I just quite liked the idea of writing an incredibly earnest love song, um, that this man is singing to himself. I think mythologically it's a really fascinating story, and like a bit like with Eve, it's kind of echoed through language and through culture and through like how we see ourselves, and it's the kind of root of narcissism, and obviously we live in a time where we're all constantly confronted by our own image, be it on our phones or like this on Zoom. And yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I wanted to explore that kind of complex relationship we all have with ourselves. In my job, I'm quite shy and I'm quite self-conscious, but I'm over the last 10, 11 years, constantly confronted by seeing myself back in quite a weird and unnatural way.
Mm.
So yeah, it wasn't. I think with that one, I kind of wanted to have fun with it and with the imagery of. It's just it's quite an absurd story. A bit like the sort of fantasy of the Adam and Eve story. The idea that she was created from his rib, is bonkers. And with Narcissus, it's funny. It actually started from Emma suggested that I write a song about Echo and Narcissus, and the idea that he essentially ignored her to death whilst he, you know, lay there staring at an image of himself, and he, as the seasons went past, he kind of rotted and died,
Yeah.
and the flowers bloomed below him. And I think with these songs, while some of them are real people, others, it's taking these myths and taking these stories and kind of exploring the literalness of what that would be like as a human experience. Um, but no, I'm not in love with myself. And yeah, with the Seasons and Narcissus video, I for many reasons wouldn't have necessarily wanted to play that role, but I understand that um, I don't know, maybe it's a sort of like slightly fucked up joke back on myself that I did. I think for me, like I can kind of go into a bit of like whilst I don't necessarily love my voice and I'm not hugely like comfortable with being in photos and all, and being in videos. I seem to be quite able to like to go into the mode of like director or co-director or producer and writer and sort of use like slightly box off the fact that I'm also in it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So maybe I think we get it that you step one step back in the background on this album. Um, and you even say it yourself in the song. So maybe other stories to me are more interesting. It's one line from that song. The question that comes to mind is then, what's with your own story in this album?
The whole point of this, well, one of the points of this album was, you know, looking at these other people and seeing what resonated with me, and be that, you know, the idea that, you know, Emily Dickinson's like joy in losing herself in these worlds that she created, or, you know, or my reluctance to want to be, you know, centered in all of this stuff. You know, it's funny, the album that was meant to be all about other people in many ways is also really personal. You know, it's got like the words of my dad, the voice of my mom, loads of my friends, and, you know, and it's, you know, that intros and narrators I wrote at the end of the album just because I was like, I know people are going to ask why I'm writing these songs, so everything I want to say is in that song. You know, I'm aware that, you know, I have imposter syndrome in this job. I have imposter syndrome writing about these incredible people. I've tried to be as thoughtful as possible, um, and like, you know, at certain points along the way, I felt really hesitant about writing about other people, and I, you know, spoke to people like friends or people I was working with who make documentaries, and asked them like, how do you approach it? And they said to me, you know, as long as you're not being exploitative, and as long as you're going into it with kind of like an openness and a curiosity and respect, that's the most important thing. So I kind of tried to have that in my head the whole time.